This is the presidential candidate for UWSU, the University of Westminster Student Union. We have got Ash Chetri, Jim Hirschman, they were Aisha, Ishaq, Hazem, sorry, and we got Reese at the end. There we go. Okay. So there was they debated last night on Smoke Radio. We're going to have a little listen to what they had to say.
What's your flavour? Tell me what's your flavour?
Next up, we hear from the presidential candidates. You're listening to Smoke Radio's election debate.
I think there needs to be utter transparency in what the SU is doing with its £1 million budget, which is £50 per student.
We're not being made aware of where the money is going. Actually, a lot of the students are not being made aware that the sabbatical officers actually get paid.
I think SABs need to go around at least once or twice a day to go around each campus, hopefully, and try and ask people as much as possible of what they think about the SU.
I think the only way to do this is through a polytechnic parliament, where every week or every fortnight, however feasible it may be, you would put the sabbatical team, you would put the student union to hold, you would find out what they're doing, how they're spending the money.
Many of the campuses would actually really appreciate the creativity of Harrow to come and to show them what this university does, because it's people kind of just treat it as this almost enigma that's so far away, and I think we need to do more to have events and really advertise these events to gain interest from the students within the campuses.
Okay, so we're going to start in the same format as for the other candidates. We'll start at this end. If you'd like to introduce yourself, and you have 45 seconds to talk about your manifesto points.
I'm Aisha. I'm a third-year politics and IR student. I've been a member. I was head SSA of Regents and LTS last year. I was an SU receptionist, also a fan, also a student ambassador. And as you can see, I'm the only female president running. In terms of my manifesto, I have 45 seconds. In terms of my manifesto, I want to generate income within the organisation, less spending as much as possible, through fundraising as much as possible. A lot of students don't know about the student union. Obviously, you guys have come. You guys are quite active, but a lot of people don't even know what the student union does. So this is something I want to engage with. Developing relationship with societies.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sorry.
Okay, we'll move over to Ash. If you'd like to introduce yourself and your policies, your manifesto points.
My name is Ash. I'm a third year cognitive neuroscience student. I also work at the comms department, so I do a lot of the web and social media campaigns. But my main points in my manifesto is to tackle the main issues that students are facing. So that's one of the biggest crises in this capital, which is housing. I want to tackle mental health. I want to protect minority groups. I want to foster a better sense of democracy in this union. And I also want to increase employability with students.
You have some more time if you'd like to use it.
Also, I want to promote a... Yep.
Sorry about that. every second counts. Okay, so let's now to Hazem. You have 45 seconds to introduce yourself and your manifesto.
Thank you. My name is Hazem. I study business with law at Malibon here. My manifesto will concentrate on 3 themes. I want to make sure students get the best of education, best of campus life, and end up with a decent job at the end. I want to make sure students at this university are being made aware of graduate schemes. I want to make sure students here, before they graduate, there's a job waiting for them outside, at least work experience. This university, or even the student union, does not make students aware of such things. Also, I want to work very closely with societies. I want to develop societies, make sure students in this university are very well engaged. I want much more students in the society, in this university, engaged with society.
Okay, thank you. Over to Jim. So you have 45 seconds to introduce yourself and your manifesto points.
Yeah, hi there. So my name is Jim Hirschman. I'm a 4th year law student at European Legal Studies LLB.
I've been a course rep for 3 years, played for the Dragons for 2, and ran a society for 2 years. I've got 3 main policies. First of all, accountability and transparency. That means publishing all financial spending every month. That means standards, so room bookings processed in 7 days, sabbatical reports every month of what they're trying to do and what they have done. I want more events, so more alumni on campus. Where are our graduates now? How can we best progress? What challenges do they face? I want more course-based societies with more faculty support for them. I also want value, so I'm going to lobby for cheaper prices on campus. I think coffee is incredibly expensive, so there's a lot of food. I also want to build links off campus, so lunch deals with local cafes, that kind of stuff. Living in central London costs a lot. I want to make it cheaper.
Over to Reese, you have 45 seconds to introduce yourself and your manifesto points.
Hi, I'm Reese Stevenson. I'm a third-year human medical science student. Some of you may know me from Smoke News. I've also been a student ambassador for 3 years as well. The main policies I'd like to bring, if elected, would be to improve relations between students and professionals, improve advertising of the SU events, provide more opportunities for students to travel abroad to, broaden the horizons, or at least let them know that these opportunities exist, and to really encourage integration between all our university campuses to really see what we're doing in subjects that we don't know much about. More drop-in sessions for and tutoring for exam techniques. I feel sometimes students fail to understand exactly sometimes how a question needs to be answered. It's very different.
Okay,
now.
thank you, Reese. Okay, so these are the candidates running to be the president of the UWSU. We're going to start with a question to Ash. Something that crops up in your manifesto is tackling racism, homophobia, sexism and other forms of discrimination. Also, clamping down on intimidation. Where do you notice these issues happening around you, and how would you go about solving them?
Yeah, so I think it's absolutely appalling that we've kind of let this happen. There's a growing trend, and it's quite worrying that there is a growing body of disenfranchised students at this university. And if you ask them, if you just go up to them and say, do you think the student union is doing enough to represent your values? And often they will say, no, they're not doing enough. So I think through the introduction of a poly-parliament, we could get all these opinions on a fortnightly basis.
What's the idea behind the poly-parliament? What does this mean?
So a poly-parliament is kind of like an annual student conference, but it's sort of broken down into bite-sized chunks on a fortnightly basis, because no one actually attends the annual student conference compared to other universities.
What does it entail? What would the poly-parliament be?
So a poly-parliament, you could pass motions, you could raise issues, you could. There's also president's questions, so you can hold the president to account and make sure he's doing his job, or she.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's take this over to Hazem.
Okay.
Sorry, mine went blank. Okay. What is your sort of take on these sorts of issues among campuses? It's campus wide. Do you have experience of all campuses that you could take forward to this role?
Yeah, well, first of all, one of my main policies is actually having question time for the president, where the president can actually each month go to a different campus where he would sit. We would sit in the social area, and all students would come and throw questions at him. This is one of my main policies, which I will take, which will help me engage with different campuses.
So a greater understanding of communication between campuses and students. Over to Jim.
Yes, I mean, the first thing that I would do is make sure that I attend course rep meetings, so any complaints that students have come straight to me and that I can act upon them. I will also publish my aims every month, so you can criticise them directly. And also at the President's steering groups. I'd attend there. I haven't seen sabbatical officers present there, given that they offer a lot to students. We should be.
Could you tell us a bit more about that? The steering groups, was that right?
Yeah, so at the moment presidents meet about twice a semester. That's increasing. We're probably going to be doing it about once a month. I think that's the plan. Attending them, presidents can raise any issues they've got and standards can be implemented. I'd like to be there if I was elected.
Let's take this point over to Aisha. So obviously the only female candidate running, how would you tackle that list of sort of issues if you were to be the elected president?
I would develop on from where Jim is coming from. I would sort of say that I would physically go out and talk to students myself, because they can put a face to me. They get to know me on a one-to-one basis, not only just sort of who I am, but like my personality as well. And I think if you can relate to a person as a student and get to create links, I think that's something people can easily approach to again and again.
So getting people to actually know who you are. Let's take this over to Reese.
Yeah, I remember yesterday when I mentioned something about something like to a surgeries where students would come in and voice their opinion, but then again said yesterday that is very similar to the office we already have. What I'd love again is to physically go out to these universities and sit and talk to the students over lunch or something similar, something simple like this. So it's informal, and so that the student doesn't feel like they have to, come up with something clever or, that seems revolutionary to talk to the president. And I think that when they know that you're a president and when you sit down to them, they're not going to tell you to leave. There's a respect that you have now with that role. And I think that respect should be used to allow you to speak to these people and get to know them, because it's very, for them as well, it's wonderful to know that someone's taken the time to come and sit down, talk to you about what matters. And I think if you do that, they start to value you as not just someone who's working for them, but also a friend, or at least an acquaintance, someone that they feel they can always go up to, and that they don't always have to plan something in their head. And that
So much more flexible. Would anyone else like to come in with a point on this? Yes, Jim.
Yeah, I mean, adding to that, I remember my first year, Tarek was president, and he was so active. He was everywhere on campus. During freshers, you'd meet him. He'd be doing videos. Obviously, I try to be out there when I'm not doing working on other events. I'd always be out in the office, looking to prove that. I think that's anything any president should do.
Okay, so we're going to take this back to Ash, because it's a main policy on your manifesto. So why do you think that you would be the best candidate to put this in place? So for your manifesto point for tackling racism, homophobia, sexism and other forms of discrimination, how's the specific way that you would do it going to be the best?
Yeah, I think I have a particular advantage because I am obligating myself to attend the NUS conference, so I would hear the views of people from other universities, from other student unions, and also I'll be taking issues from students at the university and forming policies at the national level as well.
Okay, let's have a question for Jim. You say in your manifesto that you want a voting reform. Why is this, and how will it actually come about?
So I want a discussion about the voting reform, and the important thing is, right now, particularly Harrow, is pretty much voted in by the central London campuses. So I think if you're representing a campus, if you turn up to the office and people come to talk to you and tell you their issues, it's right that you're accountable to them. Right now, that isn't really done. So I would suggest a reform whereby presidents are still elected university-wide, vice presidents are elected by their campus.
So
I think that would also
campus-specific voting for particular candidates,
which would also encourage more people to run, because they don't have to galvanise 23,000 students.
Okay, let's Hazem, would you like to?
We want to encourage students from every campus to go around campuses. We want students from the central London campuses to come into Harrow. By doing this, you'll just exclude Harrow completely. What we want. The thing is, students from Marylebone, from Regency, they can use the facilities. They can use the facilities in Harrow, so that gives them the right to. That will give them the right to vote for the VP in Harrow.
Okay.
Someone had recently said to me as well, what's the point of me voting for someone for a campus that I hardly go to? And I think I think we should still keep it that you could vote for VPs of the other campuses, because then that encourages you to go in and check it out and see what that campus has to offer.
So, would you support a voting reform?
I wouldn't, sorry, Jim, but I think it's great to allow all the students to vote for other VPs, because this. Again, we need to remember this is a university. This isn't 5 individual schools that just seems to have the same name.
So let's take this to Aisha and Ash. Ash, would you like to just talk about what's your view on a voting reform for allowing students to vote specifically for the representative on their campus?
Yeah, I think if it isn't broke, don't fix it. We've got a system that works, and I don't think we should fragment our campuses even further by suggesting that you don't have any say for Marylebone, VP of Marylebone, even though they have a huge say and they can affect the way the university is actually run.
Okay, and Aisha, what would you say?
Yeah, with all due respect, Jim, sorry, I'm not up for voting reform, simply because it's a chance for the campuses to sort of integrate and get to know the candidates as well, to get to know different people in different campuses as well. So I think, and also Angelo told us that he wants a lot of voter turnout, so I think a great way of doing this is by just continuing the way it is.
Okay, so we'll just take Jim. Could you just finish off with this point?
Yeah, I want to say two things. First of all, I'm quite clear on my manifesto that would be a consultation process before being implemented. And I think the second thing is I spoke to a lot of voters who didn't vote because they didn't think their vote would matter much. Most students I spoke to wanted their SAB to be directly accountable to them. If I've got that wrong, we'll do research, consultation. If that's not the student opinion, I would withdraw that from my manifesto.
A question.
Got a few questions.
Let's start at the front. Could you just introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Steph. I'm a third-year politics student. Oh, that's weird. So last I heard from a current sabbatical officer, we are legally prevented from separating the elections in that way because we are registered as one institution. So would it not be better to just make sure that the campuses themselves are more integrated with each other so that people do care about the person who's running Harrow even though you're studying at Regents?
Okay, Jim?
Yeah, as I said, I definitely want a wide discussion before any action was taken. I've read the statutes, the 1994 Education Act. There is a loophole in there. It quite clearly says all members should vote. If members are going to be of one campus, we already restrict it so you can only run if you're from that campus. Restricting it further by the same logic, I think, would work legally. I spoke to the CEO about that. He said it's legally workable. It's a question of testing that. If Westminster wants to be innovative, I think we could test that.
Okay, let's take this back to the...
Got another question over here.
If you could introduce yourself as well, please.
Hey, I'm Rianne, VP Harrow. Okay, so Jim, whilst I understand the rationale behind the voting reform, and you've obviously said that there is a loophole within the Education Act, what I would also mention is, and I'm not sure if all of the candidates are aware, whilst site sabbatical officers might be representing the site that they're based at, they also sit on committees where they represent all students. So what do you think about that? Do you think that only being able to vote for the campus that you're based at, for the sabbatical officer that's based at your campus, but having another SAB actually represent you at university level committees would be wholly representative?
Yeah, I understand now that's a serious issue. So voting reform can be many things. Other universities do it, that they have a welfare officer, various other officers like that, so they're accountable directly to what they do. The issue is that sabbatical officers work on lots of projects for their specific campus. And if you're at Harrow, for example, you probably don't know how Regent students are being affected. And when you run the SSA, you run the events, you are there for that campus. I think a lot of students feel strongly about that. As I said, again, at risk of becoming boring, if it's not public opinion, I wouldn't do it.
So, as any of the rest of the panel, Aisha, have you got something else that you would like to say about the voting reform? Is this something that you wouldn't support, but any other points?
Just mostly that I just don't think it should happen. I think we're fine the way we are. We're trying to generate, if not more at the moment, more voter turnout, because apparently last year wasn't that high. I think it's better to just encourage more voting as possible within uni.
Okay, so Reece, did you just have one more point?
As well, it kind of almost contradicts the theme of the whole pick and mix thing of picking your team, and so by doing and the thing is, some students do have classes in other campuses, and so they should feel that they are. And if you have classes in other campuses, you are obliged to run for that campus as well. So I feel you should still get that right to vote for those
exactly
those VPs. And at the end of the day, they're a team.
We're going to take this back to the floor.
Just a few more questions. One over here.
Yeah, Khalid, final year architecture student. With any job you apply for, you have to submit a CV. And one of the most important parts on a CV is work experience. So a quick question for Hazem. What work experience you have in this field? Have you ever worked in a student union or in the same area? I mean, we've seen that some candidates like Omar lack experience in how to actually talk to students without sounding so intimidating.
Okay, so what experience do you have that can make you applicable for this role?
Since the start of first year, I've been a very, very, very active student. Actually, I organised. Even I was first year, I had no experience. I actually organised one of the top events. I was awarded for some of the events. I work very closely with what's called GOPS, the General Union of Palestine Students, and I'm a vice president there at the moment. And my job is there to take care of Palestinian students who come from a country which is under occupation. I tend to find them scholarships, find them accommodation. I have so much experience with students that at some point I was actually awarded to take care of a whole Paralympics team, Palestine Paralympics team in 2012. And if you guys...
Okay, so it sounds like we are going to take another question from the audience. If you could just introduce yourself as well, please.
Okay, my name's Tasheen. I'm a history and politics student in my final year. Currently, as a president, I attend the society steering meetings. Jim has shown evidence for his commitment to all societies by attending all our events, and when he cannot make it, he has written an email explaining in full detail why he wasn't able to be present. What evidence do other candidates have to show their full-blown commitment to all societies?
Okay, so let's take this to the other candidates. How can you show your commitment? Should we start with you?
Yeah, recently I have organised. I've actually worked with Hussein herself. We just back in November we organised an event for Palestine. Jim was there. You know, it was one of the most successful events. We were able to actually bring ex-MPs. We actually brought top speakers. It was an amazing event and it went really well. Also recently I worked with Manchester University's Arabic Society where they managed to get international law firms to Manchester, and with my experience, I managed to help them out with this. And at the same time, what I did, I took a few law students from the University of Westminster. We drove all the way to Manchester, where we explored and we sat and we spoke to them.
Okay, so let's take this question to Ash.
As I work at the student union, I actually engage with students, 23,000 students on a weekly basis, doing all sorts of social media campaigns and web campaigns. I also I've supported the transition of the QH as the news editor. I was on the board for the first ever science festival with our previous VP of Cavendish, Miriam. I have 4 years of experience at this university. I have introduced weekly sports scores on the website, so this enhances the student experience for the Dragons. I've also worked with Smoke Media, so I directed that.
Okay, so let's take this question to Jim.
Yeah, so a question about experience. First of all, I worked very closely with the debating societies in the United Kingdom. So we held the English Nationals public speaking competition at this university this year. I created the Westminster debating competition, which attracted 52 teams from leading universities around the country and even internationally. I've also been a society leader and worked in an events company for organising events, particularly that alumni event. I think I had the experience.
Reece, could you talk about your experience?
Yes. So since my first year, I've been an ambassador for the university, and so I've had the pleasure of introducing hundreds of people to the university and explaining to them why it's a university they should invest their time in. And I don't think you can do that effectively unless you have a passion for that. And in my final year now, I'm also a senior ambassador, so I've been involved in training other ambassadors in tours, the effective way to engage with people. Also, in terms of advertising, that's where I've been involved in the university.
Okay, we're going to thank you for your points, Reece.
What about me? Yeah. Thank you. With all due respect, boys, the question was, what commitment are we going to bring to societies and stuff like that? Not flaunting out what stuff we've already done.
No, I thought she asked.
it's a job at the end of the day. I'm not in it for money, I'm in it for the job. I want to commit to societies. One of my policies are to develop relationship with societies. I will turn up to many events as much as possible. I will be fully committed to the job, and you have my word for
I
it.
have another question for you.
Sorry? Of course, I'd even write you a full report, darling.
I love this girl. She's amazing. I love her.
So, you mentioned that you would create more support for international students through the FANS, Friends of Arriving New Students. Do you think that the integration of international students is important? And so do you think that their current experience is not good enough? Is this something that you've heard?
Of course. Anand, who tweets in a lot about students, you say that a lot of students spend a lot and coming over to university as well. And it's not value for money. And I think FANS is a great initiative as it is already, but it's only towards home students. And I think if it's expanded out to international students, they will start to feel at home as well and have the social support of the union.
So fees for international students especially are really expensive. Would anyone like to pick up on this point? Okay, we'll move on to Hazem's question. You're the only candidate to mention a postgraduate officer.
Yes.
Yes?
Okay.
So can you elaborate on your idea? Is this another sabbatical role?
Okay. Yeah. This would be a part-time job actually, and it will be a part-time job.
Would it be a part-time elected job?
No, it won't be a part-time. It will be a part-time job from postgraduate student. Something we like at this university, actually especially this student union, is that postgraduate students are not engaged with us. Yeah, postgraduate students, they're the ones who have a lot of experience in the outside world. They've had jobs. You know, they can bring their experience. They can give us their experience. This is what we need. This is what we like. We need these people. We need these postgraduates to be engaged with us.
Why? What does it bring a benefit to the university if they are engaged?
Well, benefits, of course. First of all, they're postgraduate students, so they're into so much research. And one thing this university doesn't actually do is research. You know, one way we want to improve we want to improve our reputation, is we have to improve our research, in order for us to improve our reputation. So they're both connected, and and it's connected to the postgraduate.
Okay, let's open this question up. Ash, are postgraduate students important if you were to be elected president?
Yeah, most definitely. I actually am working with some postdocs right now, and they're almost like a mentor for me, and they can provide that sort of mentorship towards undergrad students, much like FANS do. But one of my policies I want to introduce is pastoral learning. And all the top universities like UCL and all the UL universities actually introduce pastoral learning. And what that does is it obligates you to actually meet up with your course leaders. So there is a joke that not many people actually go and meet up their course leaders. So pastoral learning will actually force you to actually meet up, and you'll do a progress check, see where you're going, and see the benefits of that.
Let's take the postgraduate point to Jim. If you'd like to answer, are postgraduate students important, and how can we get them engaged?
Yeah, I mean, they're very important. So I think one thing is course-based societies, they have their own societies that represent them. I also think going to their course rep meetings, where they're being represented, what are their issues, how can we deal with them? All students will have similar needs, and it's right that they're addressed.
Okay, Reese, would you like to pick up on this point?
Yeah, postgraduate students are very important. I feel they've been to university before. They've built up a lot of opinions of their own, and I think we should do a lot to hear what they have to say as well. That's 3 years of learning that they've done, and I think we need to do a lot as well to hear from them as well as our other students. And again, like I say, they have. There's a lot of respect for those postgraduate students as well, because they want to continue their learning. So their views, I'm sure they thought a lot about them, and that they're incredibly sensible ones that we need to value.
Okay, Hazem, what's your take on the
I
point about postgraduates?
totally agree with you. And yes, this is one of my main points. Postgraduates have to be very, very connected to these people. They're very important to us, and they have so much experience that we can benefit from.
Okay, let's take a question from the audience.
Okay, he's been waiting for a while.
Sorry to take it back a step or two. I think it's quite important to clarify something. It seems to me that in terms of democratic accountability, 10% of students voted last year. Now, my understanding with Jim's voting reform plans is a concrete alternative to the current approach, the status quo. Now, I've heard that it ain't broke, don't fix it from some of the other candidates. Well, I'm saying it is broken when 10% of students are only voting. Now, if you do not advocate voting reform, can I hear from the other candidates specifically how you intend to address this voting issue and why you think that's going to increase the buy-in to the extent that voting reform would?
We move on from this question because we have talked about voting reform quite a lot. So if you would like to, sorry, we are pushed for time. If you would like to carry on this discussion over Twitter using the hashtag UWSU vote, can we have another question, please?
Hi, I'm Sadia. I'm a third-year LLB law student. My question is actually specifically for Hazem. You actually talked about what roles you had in the university, but you didn't actually mention the fact that you were an elected NUS delegate last year, and you were there was only one person who actually published a report of what they went and saw at the NUS delegate conference, and it wasn't you. And you also talk about how you want to enhance NUS links. Now, how am I supposed to believe that you're going to actually do anything when last year you were an elected delegate and you didn't actually do anything for it, and you didn't actually? And how am I supposed to believe that you're going to enhance links that way too?
One thing I've got my own personal reason for this. The fact when I was elected and when I went to the NUS conference, I was really sick after. And I told Angela about this. Then I had my exam deadlines, which I didn't have any time actually to do my report. But other than that, I went around to students and I spoke to them about my experience at the NUS conference.
Okay.
Take one more.
Hi, my question's specifically for Jim. Jim, as a champion of free speech, and a member of the losing side in the Charlie Hebdo debate who are advocating for freedom of speech, I find it quite contradictory that you propose to have a consultation on the no platform policy. In addition to that, yesterday in the radio debate, you mentioned how we'd be judging the suitability of a speaker, and if there's a other speaker to come in to deliver the talk, then we'll decide who's the better speaker. So I'm just thinking, how would you enforce such a policy? Would you have a panel, and how would they be composed of, or would you be making the decision on an arbitrary basis?
So first of all, to be clear, with the Hebdo debate, I said I would argue either side, and I chose the side that didn't have people. That was not my personal view necessarily. The second thing is I think societies need to have a sense of inclusion, right? So if you're going to get a speaker on site and you know it's going to make a lot of people feel uncomfortable and someone else can deliver that message, I think you should choose someone that's not going to offend. That's my policy on that. And if you encourage societies to take this proactive approach, I think that would be positive for the community. It's about building this inclusion.
We're going to take one more question.
Sorry, we'll just take another question from the audience. So you can continue talking over Twitter.
Hi, my name is Kurosh. I'm studying language and business. I'm also a student rep for language students. My question is to all candidates. Would you like to ask you, since we only have 6 hours per week for undergraduate students to study language, would you like to ask you if you have any policy to increase the hours of the studying language for students? Thank you.
So a very specific question on increasing hours spent on learning languages for undergraduate students.
I spoke to many students, and they feel they need to basically receive more language lessons during the undergraduate. Yeah.
Okay, Aisha, would you like to take this question?
Yeah, sure. If all students feel that, then it's something that must be worked upon, something that we should look into, and definitely that's something we can further research into. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. We'll take a question from the audience.
One last question at the front.
Hi, it's me again. I just wanted to ask, in light of the speaker that's coming next Thursday, who's actually anti-gay, he's been confirmed by the student union, what would you do as president to stop this kind of thing happening again? Just to let you know that the current petition we've got going has got over 1,200 signatures to stop him from coming next Thursday.
I'm going to have to say that we'll have to leave this question. There's the chance to talk about it further next Thursday at the annual student conference. But we're going to go to Reese's question. Why do you think it is important to prioritise studying abroad? And do you think there aren't trips that are meant to constitute as studying abroad?
Sorry, that last bit again?
So do you think that there aren't trips that are meant to constitute studying abroad? So trips that can count as study abroad?
Well, it's just, I had this theory because I in my course, I didn't hear of any opportunities to travel abroad. But I'd noticed that we had so many students coming in from their universities that we're partners with. And one of the reasons I think I've heard of the issue that some of our students don't go is because of money, and whereas other countries will fully fund them. Most of the time over here, we have to fund part of it, and that's really hard in London, where you have to spend money on the tube. You have to pay like £5 for a grape. You've got to, and it's frustrating. And I think loads of students would love the opportunity to travel abroad. And I think one of the things that the university has said is that they are, that they pride themselves on creating the next generation of highly employable and global citizens. So how can the university keep saying that if they're not doing at least something to at least give their students the opportunity to travel abroad and culture themselves? If money's an issue, then let's encourage more fundraising. Right now, it's societies are only allowed to have tables and stuff to fundraise and things like that. And I think we need to do more to at least encourage them to earn the money and to effectively plan what they're going to do.
Okay, so more chances for study abroad. Ash, is this something that you're sort of interested in if you were to be elected president?
Yeah, so I think you can learn quite a lot from going abroad. You can get a rich sort of experience from just travelling. The problem with my course was that we were locked down in terms of modules, so we couldn't actually have an opportunity to take a year abroad. So what I want to do is I want to actually work with the university board, talk with our external trustees on restructuring certain courses so we could allow for that year abroad programme.
Okay, Jim?
Yeah, I mean, I actually just came back from a year in Germany on exchange. It's a great experience. The European Commission pays about €330 towards your upkeep per month. Any support for those opportunities, definitely support. If you guys are in your first or second year and you get the opportunity, I suggest you will take it.
Okay, and Aisha, how would you come back to this point? Because it is expensive.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to touch upon. I mean, Shahman survived.
Without a loan, by the way.
Yeah, I was actually going to apply for a study abroad to Australia, but realised that it's too expensive. So, I think
a barrier.
Yeah, exactly. There is a barrier, and I don't know, Reese, if there's something you want to sort of develop on, then there's something. Yeah,
well, let's take it back to Hazam. You haven't said anything. So, how would you sort of increase the numbers of students going abroad, and especially combat how expensive it is?
Again, we have to work on this very closely. We need to make sure that students are aware that these trips already exist, or these study abroad already exist. So we need to make students more aware of these, so they can take the advantage of them. Going studying abroad, you'll gain so much experience. You'll be a bit much more employable. You'll gain a lot of skills from the culture in there.
And so, Reese, this is your point. How would you sort of make it more affordable studying abroad?
Well, like I said, again, like with what Ash said, talk to trustees about what we can do to help to support these students. We have, there's a lot of money that we have, and it's not going to be easy to, encourage them to do that. But I think maybe if we encourage students to, because one thing that they like to do is maybe give like the top percentage of students a chance to do that. And I would hate to isolate other students who again would be a great ambassador for the university, across the globe, but because of being unfortunate at certain grades that they can't do that. I think maybe if we encourage students to do something right or something creative that allows us to see their passion for wanting to travel abroad, and then that may encourage us to invest in them.
Okay, we'll take a couple of questions from the floor.
Just over him.
If you could just introduce yourself.
So this is a question for all the candidates, but specifically at Hazem's manifesto point. So currently, like all societies, we face a really big issue of room booking, and like it's really hard to get a room booking. It's gotten better in the last few weeks, but it's still an issue. And you say in your manifesto that you're going to make it effective, but students have already tried speaking to the SU, and it goes to so many different bodies. How do you intend to make it effective?
Okay.
So, what's your specific plan for making room booking more?
Okay, one of my main policies is to make sure is to sit with each society in advance at the start of the year, where we'll sit and plan. We plan their goals and targets, yeah. And we've tried. First of all, what we work on is having them given. I want them to give us dates where they will probably have provisional dates where they will have events. Okay. Also.
Okay, so forward planning
Yeah.
In terms of events. So, Jim, would you like to pick up on this point?
Yes, I mean, I think that's definitely positive. But the actual issue of room bookings, and I've done a lot of research into this society leader, but it's frustrated me a lot. Basically, the university has a policy where they push room bookings through, but they need to know that society is processing bookings. So sometimes it's about the SU quickly passing on that transaction, which might mean more staffing, more hours. I'm actually happy to monitor the room bookings email, if that's what it takes, if it's not funding, to make sure that those emails are passed on. When they're with the staff, we can then hold them to account and make sure that those bookings are processed within 7 days, as I pledge in my manifesto.
So we're going to take another question from the floor. Last one, I think. Two more after.
It's a question to Hazem. You said that you'll massively improve the educational standards of university. I mean, how?
Could you just repeat? Sorry, could you just repeat the question?
One of his first lines is he will massively improve the educational standards of the university. How?
You've got the old copy of my manifesto.
I downloaded it from the SU website.
SU
I mean,
website.
That's not my issue.
Yeah, of course. You know, okay.
Yes, sorry. I plan to massively improve the educational standards.
They haven't put the new one on. Okay. Yeah, wait. I need to say. I told you I've got three themes in my manifesto. The first theme is education. You know, improving education standard is by making sure our postgraduate students are engaged. Making sure we have more placement. We need to lobby the university for more revision lectures. We need to have more industrial placement years. This is how I want to work, and also I want to make sure students actually get the best feedback from the coursework, from the exams.
We're going to move on to another question.
Two more
from the
questions.
floor.
Just one down here.
Hi, this question is for Ash. Basically, the president is supposed to be representative of the students and not exclude them, etc. Your manifesto says to vote for you because you're not a law student. What's wrong with law students?
If you put it like that, it does sound kind of derogatory. But the context of what I was saying was it was the issue of representation. Because before we had Khalid, who was a law student, and we have now I think 5 candidates running who are law students. Now, if you had say the NUS that was constantly electing people from say Norwich, there would be good reason for people to start questioning if there are issues with representation. So all I'm saying is when I'm not a law student is, I'm different for once.
Okay, so we're moving on to our last.
Just one more question.
Our last question from the floor over at the back. Thank you.
Hi.
Could you introduce yourself as well?
Yeah, Ryan. Hey, I just want to address the issue of space. It's not about social space. It's about for societies utilising spaces within the university. We are currently not able to utilise a lot of spaces within the university to our own advantage as societies. For instance, the Deep End, it is a social space, but there are many times in which some students do not occupy them or they're not used as social spaces, so why can't those spaces also be used for the benefit of societies as well?
Okay, so social spaces that are available, why can't they be used for societies instead of booking rooms? Aisha, let's take you.
Well, I found out today that House and Facilities Department put a lot of barriers on the student union. We haven't fighting. We were trying to keep a good relationship. but we would like to work with them a lot more to sort of revolutionize the union in order to have these spaces for our events, because where else are we going to go? We need these social spaces for our events.
One of my main manifesto points is having like weekly, regular campus activities, you know, and this has to be done through such social areas. And you know, last I think 2 weeks ago when we had the debate, the Charlie Hebdo debate, it was supposed to be in the deep end, and I was very frustrated at the fact they've cancelled that, and didn't allow us to use it.
Okay, Jem, would you like to just pick up on this point? We'll give the other candidates a chance to as well.
Yeah, so one of my main points is also consultation and redevelopment of a social space. Regents is the place that I'd earmark for that. I think it's important in the evenings that we offer events. Having that space available is something we can lobby for. If the president says that there's like dissatisfaction because students can't use it, that's likely to be quite a strong case to get a reconsideration of that policy.
Reese?
Well, when I was part of the Choral Society, we were able to take over the deep end, so I didn't know that there is a rule that prevents us from doing that. Oops. But no, absolutely. I think I agree. I think during the evening times when they're hardly being used, I think that we should utilise those spaces to allow societies to hold their meetings there. And plus, I think those are great spaces as well for performance. I see that the deep end can be a great place for putting on a production of some kind, or hosting more events for students to be a part of. And because it's a social space, it's somewhere where students feel familiar, so they're more likely to go rather than having to hold it in a place where students have to find.
Ash, a final point for this on social spaces. Why can't we use the deep end?
Yeah, I think there's a huge issue with the university that's prioritising corporate interests over students and staff. There are several areas of the university which are just completely out of bounds to students, and
how would you lobby to make sure that they are prioritised for students?
So I would just form a student task force with the SSAs and the from the student bodies from the Polytechnic Parliament, and so we would use that, we'll generate reports, and we'll constantly lobby the university to actually do something about this.
Okay, now it's time to wrap up. I'm going to give each of the candidates 30 seconds on why students, you guys, should vote for them. So let's start this end with Aisha.
Yep.
You have 30 seconds to speak.
Well, the part of the fact that we haven't had a female president since 2007 is a big thing in itself. I think it's time for change. I think I'm personally a person that wants to touch students' heart. I want to make Westminster your second home. I would like, because you guys pay so much to study, to come into lecture, to come to seminar, and then go home. It's not enough. I want the union to be a social support for you.
Okay, and Ash, you have 30 seconds.
Yeah, I'm the only candidate here that's actually putting huge issues that matter to students on my manifesto. So student housing, I want to tackle that. I want to tackle mental health issues, which are largely ignored by a lot of candidates tonight. I also want to create a more open and improved union through the introduction of a poly-parliament. I want to also clamp down on intimidation and protect minority groups. So I'm the only one that has a conviction to do this.
Thank you, Ash. Next up, we have Hazem. Would you like to 30 seconds?
I have so much experience. I have so much past experience. I work with so many different society, external and internally. I've worked with top universities, LSE, UCL. I've got the experience of the student union. I want to bring it to this university. I want our university to reach to the top. I want the students of this university to graduate from the University of Westminster, being proud of it. When applying for a job, to be confident about.
You have 30 seconds.
Guys, if you want to vote for me, vote for someone who's going to get stuff done, okay? Guys, right now a lot of society leaders can't get stuff done because the SU isn't organised enough. I'm going to change that. I'm going to develop that. At the end, you're going to get much more interaction from more course-based societies who are actually able to unleash the massive potential this university has.
have 30 seconds.
I've given a great deal of my time to university, and I've seen so much the good that this university is capable of. And I want to be able to express that as president to all of the other students and help encourage that more and bring more excellence out of our students. And the only way to do it is to make them feel that their opinions mattered, because some students have incredible ideas, and I want them to express that. I want them to feel confident enough that this is a university that's going to listen to them, and I want to create more positivity within this university.
To all of our presidential candidates, and thank you to everyone for showing up tonight. There's been a great reaction over Twitter. We have, before you go, there's a video about the annual student conference. So this is a really important conference where students' voices are heard here. So this is next
26th
Thursday.
of February is a date that everyone is saving for the ASC, the annual student conference. But you might ask, what is ASC? Well, it's your chance to make a change at your students' union. During the conference, UWSU will be presenting budget figures of the past year, overviews, and will suggest some points for discussion. Where do you come in all of it? You vote. All of the presented sections will be up for your and your friends' approval. The best part is, you can submit your own agenda items. Whether you want to start a discussion about campaigns, food in the SU, or something study related, send your proposed agenda additions to us before 12 p.m. on February 19th. The event will take place at the Forum in Harrow campus, February 26th from 5:30 p.m, followed by the SU election results.
And if there wasn't reason to go down enough, there's free pizza available